My husband and I have been out of debt twice now in our marriage, which has been 11 years. And we are currently back in debt. And while we don't like that, we are still encouraged because we've been able to get out of debt 2 times. Things happen in life. We moved across the country. We needed 2 new cars. We needed to buy a house. My husband retired. I retired. We had to pull from some of our investments, some of our savings. And, life happens. So I feel like it is unrealistic for us to believe that not having any credit cards, not having any debt, your whole life is realistic, because it's not. Or what you want to learn is how to manage debt properly. And I feel like this is an ongoing learning curve. I'm not saying I have it all figured out. And this is by no means financial advice on the best advice and what you should do with your money and with your life. But I will say that we were able to set thresholds for credit cards and Amazon and the different accounts that we may have, that we may spend for household items. A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck, and we were living paycheck to paycheck. So if we had a financial emergency with our cars, or needed groceries, or a utility bill was due, or something was higher than normal, we would have to put that on a card. And so it's not about that it's bad to charge things, and it's bad to have emergencies, and it's bad to have that to fall back on as a crutch. Can you manage that? What kind of threshold can you put on that card? Like my husband and I did. Okay, this is the cap that we want to spend on this card, if we can manage that. Why? Because the payment, we can afford the payment. It's not a strain on us. But if it went up above a certain amount, okay, that's going to be a strain. So we're going to try to stay under this threshold and manage the debt. So can you manage the debt that you have? You may need it. You may need that house payment. You may need that new car. You may need a car repair, or you're in school or something like that. But can you manage the debt? Or are you just frivolously spending to where it's out of control and it's above that threshold where it becomes a strain? So life happens, debt happens, but is it a strain on you? Can you manage it? If you can manage it and not go above a certain point to where it's unmanageable, then I would say that that is a success, and that is good. The second thing that we did that was very successful was something called the debt snowball. So you are first honest with yourself. What am I managing? What kind of debt am I managing? Can I manage it? What can I not manage? And you're honest with yourself about what you owe. So the next thing is called the debt snowball. So you add up all the debt, or you look at all the debt. What is the smallest one to tackle? Oftentimes we see the big one, and it's like this huge mountain, and we're like, okay, we have to tackle that one first. But no, you have to tackle the small one first. Knock the smallest one out of the way. Maybe it's $1,000, maybe it's $2,000, maybe it's only $500, or maybe it's bigger, maybe it's $5,000. Do the smaller one first. Celebrate your achievements, celebrate your goals. Then you take that payment that you were making on that small one. Maybe you doubled up on payments. Maybe you could allocate money from another spot and you double up on payments for that small one. Then you see that small one going down. You knock it down completely. You use that money. Say it was $100, $150, $200. You put that on top of a payment towards the other card, which would be the second largest card. So maybe that payment becomes $300. And so then you're putting $300 every month, boom, 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 on the second largest. And then you get that knocked down. It may take a year, but hey, you knocked it down. And then you do the minimum payments on everything else. Then you take that big payment, it becomes an even bigger payment now. Maybe it's $400 or $500 that you've gathered now on top of the third largest one and the fourth largest one, and so on and so forth. Slowly knocking that down. It can take years. It takes patience, it takes perseverance, persistence, but eventually you feel amazing because you see the snowball working. That whenever we got bonuses, maybe my husband got a raise, got a bonus, maybe I made extra one month. Our tax returns, when our tax returns would come, if we had any left over, no matter how big or how small, maybe we would split it in half use some for something else, maybe, you know, trip to the beach, vacation, you know, something like that. Or we would just go out and buy something new that we needed, a new TV, whatever. But instead of wasting the whole entire chunk, we would double that up on a debt. We also were blessed with some money when we had kids, and there were just certain household items that we got and certain things that we got. And we said, okay, well, that money would have been money that we would have bought in ourselves. So we're gonna take that money, estimate what that is, put that on top of debt. So you're looking at every extra possibility to double up on a payment to do the debt snowball. So we did do the debt snowball, but it was also in addition to extra that was coming in, or a blessing, a gift, anything like that. We would use it wisely. We would spend it on something that maybe we needed, but then we would also take some of it and also put that on a debt. We were able to follow this method and get out of debt, like I said, 2 times. We're currently back into debt, and we're following the same method again to get out of debt again. But this time we decided, okay, it's not realistic to have no debt at all. Previously, in our previous home, we were in Arizona, we were renting an apartment. We had no rent. Now we have rent. So you know what? We have a house, we have cars. Those are manageable debts that we have. But we don't want to spend frivolously, and we don't want our credit cards to run up, even though you know, things are going up. So what can we do to keep certain payments down? We got the debt snowball idea and a lot of different ideas from Dave Ramsey. And while we love Dave Ramsey and we think that he has great financial advice, it definitely wasn't realistic for us, being a young family and a young married couple, to not have any debt whatsoever and to cut up all of our credit cards and to put everything in cash envelopes and all that kind of stuff. The first time we actually got out of debt, we sold our house. We sold our house and put all the money that we made on the house on our debts. Moved into an apartment, downsized, started fresh and brand new. But with a young family, we didn't feel comfortable cutting up all of our credit cards and not having any debt at all. We had a young family, and sure enough, emergencies came up and we needed those credit cards to live on. And yeah, it did accumulate debt. But again, it was an emergency. It was different things that we needed to live. And having a young family, I wouldn't advise people to have no backup plan at all, even if it does require going into some debt, especially if you're a single mom or a young family, or just a family and you just have a lot of kids, whatever it may be. And he inspired us in a lot of ways. There were some things that we didn't quite agree with. So you really have to balance it out with what's going to work for you. And again, always come back to the conclusion of, can I manage this? Is my lifestyle too much for me, or can I manage what I have? And sometimes things were unmanageable, so we went to extremes. For example, we didn't get new cars. Our entire marriage, and except for the last year, we've had the same 2 cars to get around with. They stayed intact. Of course, there was some hefty maintenance bills, and the bills got heftier and heftier, and that's why we ended up getting new cars. But for a while, we could afford the maintenance, because it was like having maybe a small car payment every now and then for the upkeep on our vehicles. But we didn't go in and get new vehicles. We took care of what we had. We got the maintenance done, the oil changes done, and we just rode those things into the ground. Same with our phones. We let our contracts completely run out. We didn't keep laying new contract fees and new things. We would call around our credit cards. Hey, can you lower our interest rate? We would, see what kind of subscriptions we had. Maybe we only had one, Netflix and Amazon, and that was it. That's what we did for the time being. We didn't have all the extra ones. Or maybe we would try to get all the extra apps bundled into our internet or bundled into our phone. You just have to start getting creative on different things where you can pinch little here, little there. So in a nutshell, that's pretty much what we did. How can we manage what we have? If we can't manage what we have, how can we decrease what is going out? Oftentimes people think, oh, I just need more coming in. Well, yeah, we can work on getting more coming in, but how about we also work on the outflow? Where are things leaking? Where's my money leaking and going and just being thrown away? Even if it's 10 bucks here, 20 bucks there. We are going to do the debt snowball and knock off the smallest one first. And then any extras we get, We are going to be diligent and not waste it. We may need it for some things. We can reward ourselves. We can have fun. That's another thing that Dave Ramsey said. He's like, you can't eat out, you can't do this. Well, we have to live life. You can't starve yourself. You can't deprive your family of vacations or nice things or treating yourself here and there. And I think that's where people get discouraged. So be encouraged that it's okay to treat yourself. It's okay to reward yourself, especially small financial milestones. If you get a raise, or if you knock off a small debt, or if you got rid of a bill and now you have $80 extra for something, it's okay. Let's go out to eat. You want to live, you want to find a balance. I'm all about finding a balance. I am not a black and white kind of person where it's all or nothing. I want to live life, I want to be happy, but I also want to be smart. And so it's finding that ebbs and that flow of being balanced. And I feel like that's where my husband and I are at right now. We were so on the other far end of like no debt whatsoever, completely sold out for Dave Ramsey. And then we lived a little, we, had some kids, and we're like, you know what, doesn't work for us. Let's focusing on just managing what we have, creating a lifestyle that fits for us, not being irresponsible, but then also enjoying life.